What's up, everybody? It has been a hot minute since I have made a video. I do apologize for being gone for so long. I'm not gonna make any up any like wild story or anything like that. Life just got busy. My wife and I, we had our third kid. We had a beautiful baby girl, and I've just been spending a bunch of time with family, and that's all there is to it. I'm not gonna promise that I can be super consistent just in this stage of life, but these videos are still fun to make, and I still watch ASMR all the time. And what got me to make this video was actually a comment by Alec Lafergie, which is hilarious. I don't know if that's your real name, but even if it isn't, that's pretty cool. The comment was on one of the fantasy football videos that I did a while back, and that person said that this is their favorite ASMR vid ever, and please come back and make fantasy content. So I got you. I figured, hey, let's give the people what they want, you know what I mean? So Alec, here you go. I am playing fantasy football this year. Lucky for you, because I was really close to not playing this year. Last year was a work league, and I'm no longer at that company, so it was a mad scramble to try to get 10 people to join my league. But we did it. My dad and my brother are actually playing for the first time ever, and it's been actually really fun bonding with my dad over strategy and who to choose and who not to choose and stuff like that. Okay, I figured for this video what I'll do is, since we're already 5 games into the season, whoa, look at that thing floating. I will give y'all an overview of my team. Oh man, there's a truck going by. I'll give you an overview of my team, like who I drafted, and then how my team has changed throughout the year and where I'm at. Because it's not good still. If y'all remember from last year, my team was pretty bad. We were pretty bad. I don't remember what I ended up at, but it wasn't good, and it was well below 500, so I lost a lot more games than I won. This year, and if I look down, I'm looking at my phone, so I apologize, but this year, I'm sitting at 2-3. I started out hot with 2 wins, and then now I've lost 3 games in a row, so I'm doing exactly what I did last year. I felt a lot better about my team this year, but I've made some trades that I'm not sure if they're very good or not, but my favorite thing to do, even like when I play Madden or any sports game, like my favorite thing to do is trade. I'll always try to trade with people. So when I have the chance to do it in quote unquote real life, I jump on every opportunity. I don't know, it's probably because I'm in sales, or I don't know, something with the way I'm wired. I love just trying to make deals with people. I don't know why, even if it's bad for me. So that's probably why I'm not very good at sales either. So my team that I originally drafted, I had Kirk Cousins, just to give you insight, Alec, I don't know if you play fantasy, but it's a 10-team full PPR, which counts, basically means it's a full point for every reception that anybody gets, as well as 4-point passing touchdowns and 6-point touchdowns with like rushing or receiving. So the only touchdown that doesn't count as much is a passing touchdown, just to kind of make things a little more fair. So I had Kirk Cousins, and then I had Rashid White, and then Miles Sanders as my 2 running backs. I drafted the thinking there. I drafted him late. I went with a 0 RB strategy this year. And the thinking was they both are in situations, at least they were when I drafted them, that they were the only people playing. They were the only ones who were going to get any touches or attempts or receptions or anything like that from the running back position on their teams. Or Rashad White, not Rashid. Rashad, he plays for the Buccaneers, and Miles Sanders plays for the Panthers. And it was pretty true. Miles Sanders has kind of fallen off, and Rashad White still is pretty much the workhorse back there. So I feel like those were decent selections. Not Miles Sanders at all, but hey, I took a chance. My wide receiver 1 was Tyreek Hill, and then I had Garrett Wilson as well as Chris Olave for my wide receivers. And then for tight end, I drafted Evan Ingram. He's the tight end for the Jaguars. And then I had the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. And then I don't remember, just some random kicker. I pretty much change my kicker and defense every week. I never set them because I dropped Pittsburgh's defense in the first week because they were going against someone. I forget who they were playing, but I didn't like the matchup, and then I think I ended up picking up Cleveland's defense, and they did okay. My bench, there's nothing crazy on my bench, and it's changed a lot. The 2 guys that I've drafted that are on my bench now would be Drake London. He's a 2nd-year wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons. He had a really good rookie season, and I don't know, I felt again like I should take a chance on him and see what happens. It was a roll of the dice, and I don't know. I'm not gonna say it's a bust, but we'll see. And then I also got Jordan Addison, who's a rookie wide receiver for the Vikings, which, with Justin Jefferson being on the IR now, could turn out to be a pretty nice pick. But again, we'll see what happens. My team, so what happened is I won the first 2 games, and then I've slowly but surely gone on a little losing streak here. I lost in week 3, and then I lost in week 4, and I was just like, okay, something's got to change. My running backs were so bad. Rashad White had 1 good week. Miles Sanders had another good week. But combined, they never really scored more than 10 points each, which is pretty bad. The good news is I did pick up Sam Laporta from the waiver wire back in week 2, and he's been my starting tight end ever since. He's a stud. He's a rookie tight end for the Lions, and he's been doing so good. It's crazy. And rookie tight ends aren't necessarily known for producing right away, and he's doing really well. That whole Lions team is really good though. So anyways, I lost a couple games, and naturally my inclination is to make some trades because I get happy fingers or trigger fingers or whatever you want to say, and I just want to go and see who I could get. Oh, also I did draft James Conner too as well. That's important the first trade that I made was I sent James Conner and Garrett Wilson. This was after the Rodgers injury. I was really sad about that. I was really hoping they would be able to have a full season and see what they could do. But so I sent James Conner and Garrett Wilson to another team for Alvin Kamara and Christian Watson. They both, I think I did that in week 3, so they both were going to come back in the next week or two. I was already 2-0. I kind of felt good about myself, and I was like, okay, I can afford to trade away these guys, and I'll still have people to back up or like produce while I'm waiting for them to be able to play, because Christian Watson was on. He was basically doubtful. I don't think he was on IR, which is injured reserve. I think he was just questionable because of his hamstring. And then Alvin Kamara was suspended for the first 3 games for an off-season altercation, which is crazy. It's a wild story. Needless to say, I honestly traded away those guys and felt pretty good about, like, hey, even if I lose this next week, once they come in, I'm going to be good. I quickly realized that Rachaad White might not be a good RB1, running back 1. I probably need some running back depth, as well as, like, I was really wide receiver heavy, but with Garrett Wilson going down, I really felt bad about not having a 1-2 punch with, like, Tyreek Hill and Garrett Wilson. Like, I really honestly felt like Garrett Wilson could have been a top 10 wide receiver this year if Rodgers had stayed healthy. So I felt really, like, I don't know, disappointed in that, because I thought it was going to be really exciting. So I started flirting with the idea of, I looked at my team and I was just like, man, who can I trade away and really build up, like, my team. Like, I feel like I need a couple running backs and a couple wide receivers. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting things as I go, but I did draft David Montgomery too, which is another important person to remember because he was part of a trade that I sent as well. David Montgomery had a monster week in week 4, I believe. He had like 36 points. And I had just lost another game, so I was 2-2 at this point, and I was just like, something has to change. Like, I can't keep starting like Miles Sanders or Rachaad White and then David Montgomery, who up until that point really had, like, you know, a couple solid games, but one really big game. Kirk Cousins was okay, but again, like, you only get 4 points for throwing touchdowns, and he never runs the ball. My wide receiver core was okay. Chris Olave was doing alright, but he's really slowed down, and I just didn't feel good about where I was. And so when looking at my team, I really wanted to get a quarterback that could run and pass, and then they might get some, like, rushing touchdowns. So that really leaves like 3 quarterbacks, 4 quarterbacks. Like, you got Anthony Richardson, Justin Fields, Josh Allen, and then Lamar Jackson. Those are really about it, and I apologize if I'm missing. Like, there's probably a couple more that, like, it could be, but for the most part, those are the big dogs that, like, have a lot of rushing upside. And so I was looking at teams that had those quarterbacks, and I saw that the guy that had Lamar Jackson also had Cooper Kupp. And he didn't have very good running backs. He had pretty average wide receiver depth, especially with Cooper Kupp being out. Cooper Kupp was on injured reserve for the first 4 weeks. It was, yeah, 4 weeks, because he just played this last week. So he hadn't even played yet. The guy was probably frustrated because he's, you know, he has no points from Cooper Kupp, who was a first-round draft pick and should carry a team. And so I made a trade with this guy at like 11 o'clock at night. I was half asleep, and I don't know what it was, but I felt really good about this trade. I sent over Kirk Cousins, David Montgomery, who had a really good week before, and then Christian Watson, who I had acquired from an earlier trade. And I got Lamar Jackson and Cooper Kupp back. And I felt like that was a really good trade because Lamar Jackson dang near leads the league in touchdowns, like rushing touchdowns, but he also can pass the ball. He leads the league in rushing yards as a quarterback, I think, right now. Maybe he doesn't, I don't know. But either way, he always is up there for rushing touchdowns, rushing yards. He's a dual threat, like a true dual threat quarterback, which is really good in fantasy. And then Cooper Kupp, it was a risk, which I think paid off after his last week. He played and performed really well, but it was a big risk because he could have not come back for another couple of weeks, and when he came back, he could have been on a snap count, and honestly, hamstring injuries are really sketchy. Like, knock on wood, he could definitely re-injure it at some point throughout the season, and so it was risky, but I think I did well with that one. So then my team, now that Alvin Kamara is off of his suspension, my team would have been Lamar Jackson, Alvin Kamara, Rashad White, Tyreek Hill, Chris Olave, Sam Laporta, and then some other random, like maybe Jordan Addison, maybe Drake London. I didn't really have another wide receiver to put in there, and that's where I also felt kind of, I guess, weak on my team, because I had 3 really good wide receivers, and then it just didn't work out, right? Like, Rodgers got hurt, Wilson automatically turns into a bottom, maybe 20, maybe he could be top 20 receiver, but in a 10 team league, like, that's not gonna cut it, especially as a 1-2 punch. So when I looked at my team, I felt like I needed another running back instead of Rashad White, and I wanted another wide receiver. I looked around and I saw that my dad had Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb, and so I figured the only way that I could get 2 players like that would be to give up Tyreek Hill and then probably somebody else. So I started talking to him about trading Pollard and CeeDee Lamb to me, and I'd be willing to give up Tyreek Hill. And my dad said that if he were to give up Pollard, he'd need another running back. And hindsight's 20/20, but he didn't really care which running back I gave him, Miles Sanders or Rashad White. Up until that point, I thought Miles Sanders had the better role and maybe the better position because the week before he had caught like 7 passes. But I was big time wrong. So I ended up giving him Tyreek Hill and Rashad White for Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb, which again, like, I felt really good about up until this last week. This last week they laid a goose egg and they did not look good at all. So now my starting lineup, with everyone in there that I've traded for and with no bye weeks or people injured, I have Lamar Jackson at quarterback, Alvin Kamara at running back, Tony Pollard at running back, Chris Olave at wide receiver, Cooper Kupp at wide receiver, Sam Laporta as my tight end, and CeeDee Lamb at wide receiver. Like I said, I switch my defense and kicker almost every week, but right now I have the Dolphins defense and then Brett Maher as the kicker. On my bench, I have Miles Sanders, Drake London, Jordan Addison, Evan Ingram, Tank Dell, Jameson Williams, and then Rico Dowdell, I don't know, the backup for Tony get hurt. I like my team a lot. Like, I really do. I look at it and I'm pretty proud of like the trades that I made, and especially with like losing Garrett Wilson's upside, right? And then also like you know, just maneuvering pieces around to try to get a better team. Like, I think I did okay. What I don't love is that if I have Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave, so if the Saints suck, my week sucks. And then I also have Tony Pollard and CeeDee Lamb. So like, if the Cowboys suck, then I have a tough week, right? So like, but if the Saints and the Cowboys play well, I'm pretty much gonna win every week because those four players are a huge piece of those offenses. So I think I'll roll with it for a couple more weeks. Hopefully I can win a couple games here, get back on track. This week I'm projected to get 133.8 points, which is the most in the league right now. What I'm trying to kind of do is maybe trade away Chris Olave or CeeDee Lamb just to get away from like being so invested into two teams. But like, I think of comparative or wide receivers that I'd want to get, like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay, so if I trade Olave or CeeDee Lamb, but then I have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta. So it's like the same thing there. And then I could maybe trade CeeDee Lamb or Chris Olave for like Kyron Williams and just do like a running back in the flex. But then I have Cooper Kupp and Kyron Williams, right? So like, I'm trying to figure out, like, I thought maybe about trading or seeing about trading CeeDee Lamb for Austin Eckler or Chris Olave for Austin Eckler. I don't know if the owner of Austin Eckler will go for that, but he's stacked with running backs right now, and he has, like, his wide receiver one is Jalen Waddle. He doesn't have very good wide receivers. So Chris Olave or CeeDee Lamb would be a massive upgrade, but they definitely are not in the same caliber as Eckler. He also has Josh Jacobs and Kyron Williams. He had what's his name? David A-Chain. I don't know. People were saying it wrong and he corrected him. But he also has him too, so he needs wide receivers. I could use a wide receiver or a running back, whichever one. So I might try to do a trade there. I just want to get not so invested in one team. So I'm trying to like diversify my team a little bit. With that being said, that is an update through week 5. We got week 6 coming up. Yeah, I don't have anyone playing Thursday. It looks like everyone's playing Sunday, and then I have 1 and 2 players playing on Monday. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll do another update in like a week or 2 or something like that, or if it's the same amount of time between videos, you might just end up seeing how it finishes out. But either way, I hope you enjoyed that update. I think y'all are probably due for maybe like an update, just in general video. I don't know. I'm gonna try to maybe get back into it a little bit. I don't wanna promise or put a number on like the amount of videos I'll make in a week and stuff like that, because it's not fair to y'all, and it's not fair to me either. Just in the stage of life that I'm at. So I hope y'all understand. But I don't know, what did help is having a very specific suggestion. So if you all do want something done, pop it into the comments and I'll try to do my best. I'm not very good at tapping or anything like that, but if y'all want like me to talk about a specific subject or cover anything, I tried to shy away from like politics and like controversial topics, because I don't know, like, I feel like people come here to relax, and I don't want to sit there and, like, have someone's blood boil if we disagree on something. I don't know, you know what I mean? I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, so I'm just here to spread some positivity. Positivity, I said that really weirdly. But yeah, if y'all want me to do something specific, let me know. And other than that, it was cool catching up with y'all, and I hope you enjoyed the